Oh.
Congratulations. You found the Twin Cities Hit Show.
Say, where's Chuck? He was sitting right here beside me when I fell asleep, and now he's gone. We'd better look for him.
Very well. Where do I begin?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Reach for this one.
And now, a real hit show.
You're in love with Chuck, aren't you, sir?
Me? Me in love with Chuck? How could anybody ever be in love with boring, dull, wishy-washy old Chuck?
Live from the Twin Cities, it's the Twin Cities Hit Show.
Chuck, come back! I didn't mean it! I didn't know you were listening! Chuck!
Let's get this hit show started.
Well, the first half hour was stellar.
Brilliant.
I blame Chuck. Chuck, once again, it's Chuck.
It's always Chuck's fault.
What the fuck, Chuck? Hey, BT is here, though.
Hey, Rusty.
You're a professional in the field for how many years now?
Do you want to get that number?
Really? You're going there? Really?
I had almost 31 years.
30 since 1978.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So you got me by 5 years.
Yeah, I got you by 5 or 6 or so.
Years.
Yes,
I'm bad at math.
1978, so 37 years. Yeah, 37 years.
And in your 37 years, have you ever had a morning as interesting as this cluster?
Well, like you said, the first half hour of the show, which we were doing off the air, off the podcast, so to speak, was wonderful. I hope we can recreate all of that brilliance here in the Alive and Social room today.
Technology.
I feel like I am in the room with two greats. The fact that you guys have both been broadcasting for almost longer than I've been
almost
alive.
100 years together.
That's fascinating to me.
Every button.
I didn't know.
Shut the hell up,
I didn't
Shannon.
know.
Every button we pushed this morning, we heard this.
You didn't like my backhanded compliment?
This is what we heard. Every button we pushed.
Why, between the two of you, you've been broadcasting collectively that longer than my grandmother's been on the planet.
We didn't know that there were still broadcasts available back
When
then.
you guys started out, were the microphones carved out of stone?
And the headphones were probably wooden. They were very, very
They
uncomfortable
were
back
made
then.
out of wood? Bamboo?
I got to say, when we broadcast the Gettysburg Address, I appreciated that it was very short.
Exactly. The brevity of that, I
it was
appreciate
great.
it.
We were able to get home on our horses.
I remember you clearly saying to me, thank goodness for old stovetop pipe, allowing us a little more drink time. Did you bring the rye?
No, I'm very
And that wraps up the presidential address. We're out of here.
Good night, everybody.
I'm sure I can learn a lot from you two gentlemen. I'm very excited.
We feel bad for the dead guys, too. Goodbye, everybody.
Go north.
Yeah.
Big
that was.
Nice.
I remember that was the first time we'd ever heard the USA chant. All those people after that. Wow, blessedly, thank you. That was what, 78 words?
I'm sure
USA.
it was magical.
Yeah.
Magical.
Yeah. Big foam finger. Go north.
I remember all those assholes in the corner. CSA. No, you guys lost. You guys
Get
lost.
over it.
They're still saying they'll rise
Address
again.
this.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of horses, how about this weekend, huh?
That was pretty cool.
I normally don't watch horse races. I'll watch the Kentucky Derby if it happens to be on.
Right.
But for this one, I made it appointment viewing.
Did you?
I just had a vibe.
Mine,
You know what we're talking about, Shannon?
So you wanted to see history and the potential
I
for
wanted
history in the
to
making.
see this.
American Pharaoh has opened up a 2-length lead as they come to the top of the stretch.
I like how this horse racing guy gets all football excited.
Oh,
they do, though.
Makes his
Here he
run
goes.
for glory as they come into the final furlong. Frosted is second with 1/8 of a mile.
I still
to
wasn't
go.
sure if he was going to be able to pull it off, but he
Pharaoh's got a
pulled
2-length
away.
lead. Frosted is all out at the 16th pole.
Let it go,
And
Goop.
here it is. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharaoh is finally the one. American Pharaoh has won the Triple Crown.
37 years. That means you guys talked about it the last time it happened.
Yes, we did.
I'm liking Shannon less. Did you watch it, though?
It's funny. It was serendipity. Lori and I, LT and I, were at Meritage in downtown St. Paul having some dinner. We just thought, we're going to go to the bar, which we love to do, hang out at the bar and eat at the bar.
Yeah.
And as we're ordering cocktails, on the screen there, there it was, the setup. So they were getting all ready for it. And then suddenly cocktails were served, and then a hush fell over. And we're looking up,
Everyone
and they
knew.
were going. So then suddenly they're racing. And then, embarrassing my wife as I like to do, I stood up and said very loudly, "Daddy needs a new pair of shoes! Come on! Come on!" We're at the fine Meritage.
Which you'll never be allowed back at, but
We weren't allowed actually beyond that moment. Then we made our way down to Great Waters.
Like you're in the wrong place.
That's how I saw the Kentucky Derby this year. We were at Maynard's out on the deck. It was one of those first rare 80-degree spring days. And I look up and I go, "Oh my God, look, the Kentucky Derby's about to start." So we watched the Kentucky Derby. And I went, "Oh, American Pharaoh." So then with this one, I said, "All right, I have to see this one." Because he won Preakness, and I said, "There's a chance." So it was one of those things. You look at your DVD lineup, and it's like, here it is, the Belmont Stakes. It's like Super Bowl coverage. It was 4 hours leading up to the race.
Oh yeah.
My wife and I actually took a nap during.
Was there a red
and we still woke up in time to see it.
Was there a red carpet and all this other kind of stuff?
There's the behind-the-scenes bios on the trainer, on the rider, on
Let's look at the blankets that they put underneath the saddles. It's a wonderful collection of wool.
Part of it, though, was good because I had no idea who any of the horses were or the background.
Except for Pharaoh, you knew that one.
Yeah, so I actually we sincerely fell asleep and napped for a good hour. And woke up and go, "Oh no, it's still pregame."
I found it interesting that all of the jockeys sounded like the late Hervé Villachez.
The horse! The horse!
Yeah, the guy who rode American Pharaoh, he grew up in a goat farm in Mexico and was a bus driver, and
So how long
is
it
the
going to
most
take?
celebrated rider?
A bus driver that obviously sat on 2 phone books.
Yeah, he's a itty bitty guy.
How long until they make a movie about this then? Is it
Yeah,
going to be 5 years? How long does it take for there to
I
be?
don't know.
That's a good
Enough
question.
suspense.
Yeah, I'm thinking quicker turnaround.
Okay.
It's gonna be a year, and will it be the jockey story? Will it be a combination of?
So in a year,
something?
we'll probably get like an HBO style or something that'll come, or a Netflix movie, and then maybe there might be some. If there's a really good story, then we'll end up with a full blown theatrical thing.
I got to think it's going to be the jockey's story because it is a pretty interesting story. Not super interesting. I don't know. The guy might have more underneath the surface than we know. But obviously from the owner's perspective, oh boy, another rich guy owns a horse. He has billions of dollars. Flew there in his own private jet. I don't think I want to watch that.
No, that's pretty boring.
Although he does seem to have a gambling mobsterish kind of shady issues.
He did have a little something going on. I'm not kidding you. You're right, Russ. You're right.
Did you read the book Seabiscuit or see the Tobey Maguire movie?
Yeah, I liked them both. Yeah, Laura Hillenbrand's book and then the
book was
movie.
awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
And the movie was not bad either. So it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that one kind of was a mixture of the jockey and the horse's story. Because they kept stressing that this horse had such a unique personality.
Well, moreover, the owner, the woman who owned the horse.
Right.
So there was the dual story. There was, was the horse and Toby, and then
because the horse
woman.
was shorter than most race horses, so he got looked down, and then he became a national hero.
Well, he had self-esteem issues. He's out there. Count to 4, and he could only go to 3.5 with his hoof. It's like I just don't want to do it. You guys I'm too little. What are you talking about?
And now they're saying with this horse, they're going to have him continue to
rehab.
race, though. So American Pharaoh is going to continue to race. They're not going to immediately put him out the stud like they normally do when they win a bunch of races.
And you know what?
Back out there.
And you know what happened as soon as American Pharaoh heard about that?
What?
He gave everybody the hoof. It's like, I mean, a life of nothing but boinking, and now I'm still running.
Exactly.
What's wrong with you people?
I like this
horse
quote
has
from the
got
owner.
attitude.
He goes, "I love the sport. I love my horses, and he belongs to all of us right now." That's what the owner says.
I can hear the music welling up in the
Exactly.
background. The dramatic sweeping panorama camera shot. I can see it already.
There's a lot of pressure, though, because if they're going to have him continue to race, that's what they're saying now. It's been so long since the sport had a superstar, as they say.
Well, that's just it. I wonder if this will go to American Pharaoh's head. He's got his stall all tricked out now. He's wearing sunglasses in the day. He starts smoking. American Pharaoh, put the cigarette out. That's not good for you. He's like, shut up, man.
Triple Crown! And they're Gitans, by the way. I can afford French cigarettes now.
He's making it rain on the lady horses.
Letting it.
Again, I'm seeing the hoof. Doing the $50, $100
like, I'm
bill
down.
thing.
He's going to be on TMZ next week coming out of clubs.
Are those Dr. Dre Beats headphones that you got on there?
Yeah. Imagine how blinged out his stall is going to be. And then the trailer going up to the clubs. It's got the... Yeah. It's Pharaoh. Look out, bitches.
The rope lights and everything, you know. And then the private jet that has a bubble in the top to accommodate his head.
So he can see everything.
Yeah, right.
Chill.
So he can just look out over everything.
He's going to be doing ads for, I don't know.
Let me tell you something.
Sports waters, things like that.
American Pharaoh shits wherever he wants to.
Oh, that's what they should have as a fertilizer based upon his, he has his own line of fertilizer.
Yeah.
For winners. That's what
American
it is,
Pharaoh
winners.
fertilizer. It's good shit.
Right.
It's going to be spelled P-H-E-C-E-S. Pharaoh feces.
He'll never win another race, and he'll be down and out. He'll be
I know. I feel bad because now that he's supposed to be such a star.
10 years from now,
VH1's behind.
He's going to be all
the horse race.
10 years rather be all bloodshed at a petting zoo. Shut up! Wow, isn't that American Pharaoh?
I never liked kids.
Oh well, it was a good time while it was happening. It was. Sorry to hear about your demise, American Pharaoh.
Well, good luck to him.
So was it a grand old day yesterday?
It was
awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah, Shannon and I were both there. It was really, really good.
And on the Go 96 stage, I like this song. 4 on the Floor was the band.
Oh my God, they had such a great crowd. Great crowd.
They're a Minnesota band. Are they headed anywhere? 4 on the Floor?
Well, they've hit some pretty good marks already. And
Right.
I think there's a big future for Gabe Douglas and the band. Absolutely. Yeah.
Such nice guys too.
This is a Crack Me a Beer kind of a song.
Yeah.
This is
and
a
that's
Get Rowdy.
what people were doing. That's what people were doing.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Nice warm day.
Yeah, we had a nice opening set from the Cactus Blossoms, and Crankshaft really started gearing it up. Crankshaft and the Gear Grinders, and then Gabe and the guys in the 4 on the Floor. You seen the band, Rusty?
I have not. I just researched them this morning.
I mean, first off, they're like you're hearing this great, rock and roll attitude and this tip of beer attitude, but they're called the 4 on the Floor because all of the band members have a bass drum and a kick in front of them, so they're all hitting the kick drum together, and that's the vibe. The 4 on the Floor.
Does that work with every song to have that?
Yes.
Every song.
And
every song.
they have like a great just live show. Just seeing them, it's like so much, super, super awesome energy.
Well, now I do want to see him. The singer's got a big old beard. Does he still have that big old beard?
Yes.
It's even longer. Yeah.
Almost
Gabe's
ZZ
beard
Top.
Is even longer. Yep. He's a great fella.
And a beard
one of those really good rock and roll people.
It's a beard we were talking about. It's a beard that you clearly use the good conditioner on that beard. You gotta condition that beard well.
And he's one of those guys that you look at him and you go, you'd probably be handsome if you shaved that nasty thing.
But the people that like him love the beard. Nobody's complaining about the beard.
He's a good-looking bearded rascal. Yeah.
It's close to, if Matthew McConaughey had a ZZ Top, you'd go, Matthew, get rid of that thing. You're a handsome man.
That's different. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
But you're right. Gabe is a handsome fellow, and without the beard, he would be too. Of course, Shannon saw me do a typical Minnesota thing. And I'll give you a little insight. My daughter and I were judges in the first ever Grand Old Day food judging contest, which was pretty cool. But then we stopped by after we're done judging, see Shannon at the Go 96.3 tent.
Right.
And she's talking, great day, and this and that, didn't rain. And I go into typical Minnesotan, which is, it could have been overcast in 72. That would have been a little better.
I'm like, really?
That would have been,
really?
then that would have been perfect.
Are you bitching about the weather? But then he caught himself because I started just blinking at him, stunned. Like, really, you're
Yes,
bitching?
he did.
And he was like, "No, but it is a good day.
No, it was perfect. Yeah, it was really quite nice. Yeah, no, we're fine. We're
Don't
fine.
get me wrong.
We're fine.
Yes,
Are we fine? We're fine.
you're fine.
Okay, we're fine. But it really was. Yeah, it was a grand day, and I got the notes here.
Yeah. What are the notes?
Mike Marcotte from Twin Cities Live. Myself, Todd Walker from Fox 9 and Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine, Jess Fleming, who's the food writer and critic at St. Paul Pioneer Press, Laura Michaels, who's the editor at Food Service News, and last but not least, I missed it. It'll come to me in a second. Our final judge.
Illustrious panel of food judges.
I'll look
yesterday.
at my pictures while I'm doing it because I'm just spacing. That's all right.
And so, how many vendors did you have to partake of yesterday?
So there were. I'm just going to say there's like 100 food vendors out there. No, and then you could opt in to be judged by the whole deal.
Okay.
And then we had. Last but not least, no wonder I'm spacing. Jeez, what a dope. Only my daughter, Lydia.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Nice, Dad.
Yeah, well,
Who's standing right next to you.
because I mentioned her at the front, and that's why I was spacing.
Right.
And Lyd and I are the co-hosts of Foodie Friday here at the Alive and Social Network. So 18 vendors opted in.
Okay.
All right, so we had to travel to 18 different vendors.
That's still a lot of food to
it
have
is.
to sample.
And Lydia and I set a goal. We wanted to hit every vendor. That was our goal. I mean, because we were told at the outset, if you make it to all of them, if you don't make it to all of them, that's okay. We'll tabulate and sort of aggregate the scores. So Lyd and I, we said we're going to go to the very end of Grand Old Day, where at least the last vendor on the list was.
Right.
So and the first vendor on the list was right next to where we started. So,
okay.
So we said, let's get down to the end and come back. And so we went down the alley between Summit and Grand Avenue is sort of the highway of Grand Old Day. That's where the cops are going. They take all the horses back there. All the golf carts are going back there. So we walk about 3 blocks, and we're willing to make the whole trek. But we run into one of the Grand Old Day peeps on a golf cart, and then one of St. Paul's finest on a golf cart. And I walked up to both of them and said, if we're judges in this thing, we want to get to the very end first. So if either of you are heading west, can we get a ride? And the officer said, yeah, hop on. I'll take you all the way down there, which was awesome.
Let you hitchhike.
Yeah, it was just great. And so, because it was a hell of a walk.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we didn't realize it until
that poor
we got
last
there.
vendor, you may have been the only one who made it.
I know exactly. And it was the popcorn folks, Addie's Popcorn. They were great. And they had mini donuts and popcorn. So we hit every single of the 18. So I think we're the only 2 judges that
you should
did
get a
all
bonus
of them.
little sash or something. Yeah.
Exactly. The Moral Omnivore food truck. You guys ever eaten at the Moral Omnivore?
I have.
We get them outside the
yep.
Ford Center building where we work at Go, and they travel around like all the food trucks do. Anyhow, they had highest marks in taste and presentation, and they won the overall scoring.
Fantastic.
So Moral Omnivore
like
on
them
top.
Mm-hmm.
There was an appeal score. Again, these are all 1 to 5 scores. There was an appeal score, and the original mini apple pie folks had the appeal score. They had beautiful.
How it looks, or what do you mean by appeal?
The appeal of the food mostly. Okay. But I guess you could say maybe a little bit of the appeal of the booth. I'm not sure because we really weren't parsing it out. I think it was mostly the food. Mm-hmm. And then the creativity went to a husband and wife team, and they had Banana Cabana. And theirs was pretty cool.
Okay.
They created this thing at home, they told us. What they did, they took a half of a banana.
Yes.
And they said the green ones work better because they hold on the stick better, but not super green, so that tastes, Anyhow, they take a half a banana, they put it in a stick, they put a stick in it, and then they use like an egg roll wrapper.
Okay.
All right, this sounds weird, but they lay it in an egg roll wrapper. And when you make egg rolls, you wet the edges so it all seals up.
Right.
But then they put the toppings inside the egg roll wrapper. And then they seal it up. So we had the Elvis, which was some peanut butter and bacon along with the banana.
Okay.
So then they wrap that up. Thank you. And then they take that and they dip it into sort of a sweet batter that they developed, kind of a pancake type batter, but they had a little special something going there. Then they deep fry that whole rascal just like a Pronto Pop or a corn dog.
Wow. Okay.
And so then it comes out, let it cool down a minute, and then whatever you have inside there, sometimes there's fresh fruit in there. We had again the Elvis thing. They have other flavors. It was absolutely delicious and really creative. They won the creativity, the creativity.
Beyond Grand Old Day, is that something you can get?
Well, they have a food truck, too. They have a food trailer.
Okay.
And so, you'll see them, going from, event to event.
Festivals,
so,
probably.
Keep an eye open for Banana Cabana. It was just awesome.
That sounds fantastic.
It really
doesn't sound something that would maybe transfer to the mass scale that you would need for like a state fair, but I can see it working.
I think it would.
Can you make it that much with that many bananas?
Absolutely.
It just seems complicated.
All you're going to need is a few extra people behind the line doing it. Because the woman who she and her husband had the joint, and I can't remember her name. I think it was Sarah. I've got her in my notes. I mean, it only took her a minute to assemble the thing, and then she handed it off to her husband, Ryan, and Ryan battered it and put it in. So, again, if you had 3-4 people doing that or had a process going, you wouldn't have no problem with it. No problem.
And it's called Banana
Cabana. So, Banana Cabana.
So, if you Google banana hammock, you get a completely different set of images.
I would imagine so.
You need to fact check before you hit the Google machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Banana hammock.
And put one of those not for work warnings. If you're going to send that to anybody.
Hey, over the weekend, the #1 movie, Melissa McCarthy's
I can't wait to see
Spy. Is this not a perfect James Bond sound?
It's great.
Yeah.
And the opening credits are the same silhouette.
So the titles, like they do in the Bond movies.
It's like 100% James Bond. Yeah. It is the #1 movie. It made $30 million. Melissa McCarthy's Spy, reteamed with Paul Feig, Bridesmaids, and The Heat. Yeah, I actually thought it was going to make more money. But number one, so way to go, Melissa McCarthy. And I think word of mouth will keep it going. Although Jurassic World will be coming out this week. So I don't know if it'll hold on to the number one spot.
I'm going to Jurassic World.
I'm going to see that too.
There's no way it's going to stay on the number one spot. But it was enough to push Entourage out of the way. It was enough to push Entourage.
I love that Paul Feig said he went and found notes or some narrative of thoughts about James Bond movies from Ian Fleming, the creator himself. And there was this long list of things that Ian Fleming said should never be in a James Bond movie.
Right.
And so they used every one of them.
Oh, yeah, good.
In this movie. And they all were brilliant.
Good.
You know?
Well, Jude Law plays the James Bond type character. And
Evil guy, yeah.
Jason Statham is just
Who
hilarious.
I love. I'll see him in anything.
He is he's so self-aware of his place in action movies. He spoofs himself to
that's just
great hilarity.
I can only imagine him as the straight guy in a comedy. I'm sure he's brilliant.
Well, he's this over-the-top brute.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get that. He's a fumbling. He messes everything up.
Well, look at Statham in his first breakthrough role. He was absolutely comedic in Snatch.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
He was,
That's
that
still
was
one of
a
my
comedy.
favorite movies of all time.
That's a comedy.
It was such a great ensemble.
I love that movie. Yeah.
I would watch that over and over again. I'll still watch that.
So there's this song, but I want to play you this other song that I thought was great in the movie, and I thought would be a good, fun summer song. It was toward the end of the movie, and she's driving down the road, and I hear this song in the movie, and I went, I have to find out who's singing this.
I'm gonna lower you into the dark.
Amy Winehouse-esque.
Yeah, very much so.
Who is this again?
Oh, and God, I had it. I think her name is Viv Wiggin.
I love it. I'm loving it.
You know who's going to download this after listening to the show? American Pharaoh. He is going to get his little horsey hoof.
And if American Pharaoh's listening to the show right now,
he does.
He's already thinking, I can't wait to hear the Four on the Floor do a cover of this.
Exactly.
I can hear that drum beat, that hoof beat, according to Pharaoh.
The Bill Pohlad movie, Love and Mercy, did quite well.
Have you seen that yet?
I want to.
Oh, I'm so dying to see that.
Okay.
It follows the story of Brian Wilson. Begins with the Beach Boys are already a success, and it follows Brian through his mental illness and his comeback to music, but played by two different actors, playing at the Lagoon right now. Only opened on 434 theaters, but per theater, it beat Entourage by $1,000, which was substantial.
Yeah.
So,
or was that too difficult to do? I wonder.
You know what? Here's the thing.
Entourage was so hyped. I'm surprised it tanked that badly.
But because it's going to make its money back, because I've been tracking it, kind of thing. Because it's going to make the money that they need to make for it.
I'm sure it will.
But Entourage,
I think they're surprised how bad it did, though.
Yeah, it's doing, because I've been just tracking that, because some of my friends are big Entourage fans, and of course they enjoyed it because it was really just. If you're a fan, you'll feel like you had some old friends come back onto the screen. It does everything that it delivers what fans want.
You're right.
But for, if I would probably like it because I would enjoy watching my friend get all geeked about it. Because other than that, there's no point, kind of thing. But
a similar thing would be, and there's many examples, but like Steve Carell and Anne Hathaway doing the Get Smart thing.
Right.
If you were a fan of the old TV show,
then
you just had to see the movie because you're a fan of that thing.
It delivers what it needs to do for people who are like, I used to love Turtle and Ari, and I want to see the guys back on the screen, back in my life. Well, I have friends that have seen
Jeremy
it twice.
Piven was the highlight of that movie for me, and I liked watching it on HBO, but somehow watching it on screen, I didn't like it. Okay. I didn't like it, and I think right now it is considered a disappointment. It's opening weekend. They thought it was going to do better, and they say word of mouth is actually going to hurt. They say the massive amount of negative reviews. And word of mouth, it's only
that dropped to number 4 this week, and only bought another
weekend.
10. Yeah. So it'd be
but Shannan, given what you said about the old friends, and then Rusty, you mentioning that you didn't, big screen one thing, small screen different. That's going to be, I think, a huge video sale,
right?
Or or Netflixy or whatever.
So
the case may be.
It'll make its money back.
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be a sequel.
I don't think it's doing. You're right. It's not doing well, but it is. But there's enough buzz with the fans that I wonder if there'll be a movie that goes straight to like an HBO movie or something like that they'll make another one. They just won't make another one that goes to the big screen.
Yeah, that could be. Mm-hmm. So the Tony Awards were last night. You said you didn't watch.
I didn't, and you know what? I love watching the Tony Awards because one, it makes me feel smart. So I always plan to like watch them, and I usually enjoy it because I want to see a lot of these shows. So it's a little preview for me, so I can go. That's what I want to see when it comes to the Twin Cities. But last night I did not get to watch it, but it sounds like Fun Home won?
Yeah, the new musical is Fun Home. We're listening to The King and I. It won Best Musical Revival. Mm-hmm. And for film fans, Ken Watanabe, he is the Asian actor who's
seen him in Godzilla most recently.
Yeah.
The new Godzilla.
Yeah.
And many, many other movies.
He's played a heavy in many movies. Mm-hmm. He's doing a spot on Yul Brynner for the musical. So that one for Best
Shaved
Revival.
head, I would hope. I'm guessing. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the images from it, but one would hope.
And then, this the new musical that, I don't know, swept the Tonys, but the actress won, the book won.
So five
I believe
of them
so,
altogether?
yeah. Here's the announcement.
Back to the Tony Awards. Earlier, the award for Best Book of a Musical went
Oh, wait, that's not what I wanted to play you. Never mind. Just for people who have, feel like, I have never heard anything about Fun Home. Here's a quick moment of one of their songs. It has to do with a lesbian.
Changing my major to Joan. I'm changing my major to sex with Joan. I'm changing my major to sex with Joan with a minor in kissing Joan.
So, not to be confused with The King and I.
No. Based upon the graphic memoir of Alison Bechdel is what it is.
Yeah.
Completely different story.
I kind of want to see it, though. I mean, I'm curious on every Tony Award winner. It's like, all right.
You are sleeping with Joan, etc., etc., etc.
Yes.
I was also excited to read that Best New Play went to The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, and that's because it was based upon... I've read the book of that one because it's if you're not familiar with the main character, is based upon a gentleman who has autism. Okay. So, of course, a subject that I read up on a lot because of my little boy. So, nice to see that get Best New Play. So that was exciting.
And whose voice is the book written in? The boys? Is it the book written in the boy's voice?
In the main characters, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and
he won, the actor in that play.
Yes, and that, from what I understand, from looking at that, this was his first like major role that he had ever had is the guy who was in there. That's what I read about in here. So, I mean, I'm excited to see that as well. So. It sounded like a fantastic night, and Alan Cummings, I used to have a little weird crush on him, and so I was like, darn it.
When was the first time you ever saw him on screen or on stage?
But you know what? I like him for geeky reasons because he played...
Well, that's why I'm asking. Because
so I liked him because he was in the X-Men movie.
Okay, mine goes back further.
Okay, which one did you like?
When he was Boris in GoldenEye.
Yes.
I am invincible at the very end. And
GoldenEye.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah, that's the first time I ever saw Alan Cumming, and I just like, God, I like this guy. And then seeing him ever since, he's a fantastic actor.
So I do have a DVR, so I will watch it eventually.
So Texas is dealing with an issue this morning.
Thin Lizzy, nice.
Yeah.
Love this song.
Do you hear about what's happening down in Texas?
With the bikers? The biker protest?
Oh, wait, no. I got it wrong. This one's in New York. I'm sorry.
Oh, what's that?
The prison break in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Where'd they get the power tools? Everybody's wondering what.
So these two murderers...
Well, here, let me play this. Here we go. This is a quick moment from CBS to explain it. Sorry.
Good morning. The fugitives, both convicted murderers, are considered to be very dangerous. New York Governor Cuomo is calling this a crisis situation for the state and is offering a $100,000 reward for information leading to the apprehension of these men.
We're leaving no stone unturned. They could be literally anywhere, but they will be found and apprehended.
The search for Richard Matt and David Sweat has expanded beyond New York into surrounding states and even Canada. The manhunt includes hundreds of officers in the air and on the ground.
You're all set, thank you.
The pair were serving lengthy sentences for murder. Sweat for killing a Broome County Sheriff's deputy in 2002, and Matt for murdering and dismembering his former boss in 1997.
Right.
Sometime before 5:30 a.m. Saturday.
I hate him to pieces.
Investigators say the two escaped their adjoining cells through holes they cut using power tools. They then broke through a brick wall, climbed onto a 6-story high catwalk, and made their way into a steam pipe, weaving through a complex series of tunnels. They left behind a note with a racist drawing and the words, "Have a nice day." Authorities say the two emerged from a manhole 3 blocks away from the 150-year-old prison.
Who helped these guys?
Cuomo toured the escape route and said it was like a plot from a movie.
The governor went through the escape route.
The precision of the operation, it was truly extraordinary and unusual and almost impossible to duplicate.
Ron Hosko is former assistant director of the FBI's criminal investigation.
It's not unlikely for a politician to travel through a poop canal to try to figure some truth out. I'm getting a vision of where they check in packages and stuff.
Right.
And it's like, hey, Jenkins, look, this cake looks like a Sawzall with a metal cutting blade. This is funny. Nobody would do that. There's too much irony. Let it through.
But the fact that they're shocked that a guard was involved or anything, it's like, how can a guard not be involved if there's power tools involved? Like, how could they time this? I don't want to, clearly we can't just, jump to conclusions yet, and they say they're investigating it. But the fact that the governor's saying it probably wasn't a guard, I don't get that. There has to be.
If he's saying it probably wasn't,
there's an
it
inside
likely
job,
was.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's one thing to, get your power tool. Okay, how do you do that? Then you cut a hole through a wall. They had to have knowledge of what was beyond the wall and beyond the next thing and beyond the next thing.
Yep.
So now the governor has
They
said
didn't just blindly go through a wall.
They're looking for civilian employees or private contractors or civil employees that might have assisted in the whole jailbreak thing. So they're like, not our guards, wasn't our guards. I'm like, it can't just be one person.
Yeah.
There's no way that it takes only one person to help these two guys do this whole weird thing there's no way.
I have a feeling this will be a movie before American Pharaoh.
I think you're right. Yeah, this is no Shawshank Redemption. Improperly prisoned, blah blah blah. You spend 30. No, these are bad all. Guys. Let's remember
They're
the operative
not Harrison
word.
Ford, doing anything.
Let's remember the one word. Dismembered. Not only murdered, dismembered. That's the one of the two guys we're talking about here.
They weren't sitting there. Nobody's going, they seem like a nice guy. Maybe we made a mistake.
Hey, bring that tool with you, because I think I got another guy I want to take care of once we're out.
You got to believe if they had a plan this far, they're
gone.
They had and now that when we get out to the surface 3 blocks away, now we're going to do this, and then that's going to happen, then that's going to happen.
And you would think they already had papers and planes, passports and plane tickets. Don't you think they're already gone?
How are these
They're gone.
thugs so smart, though?
Well, just because you're an evil person that kills people doesn't mean you're stupid. Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yes.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I know. BT is one of the smartest people I know. And if anybody's going to hide a body, it's the gardener dude. That's what it is. Oh. It's like, why is that tree growing so well over there? That's Frank's tree.
That's the most beautiful American elm I've ever seen. And those roots, they grow deep. Did I mention they grow deep?
I named that tree Sean Bernard.
Speaking of, I just want to real quick, I'm going to say thank you again to BT, because BT is a good friend of mine. And BT came over to my house, and he did a yard assessment with me, basically, because I was telling him, I got some plants. I don't really know if they're weeds or what I'm supposed to do with them. And he said, I'll just come by. So he came by my house, and he pointed out all of the stuff and what I should do to make it thrive.
Don't touch that one.
We started yanking stuff right away.
He's all like, pull all that up. Those are weeds. You don't need them and all this stuff. And so he helped me my peonies. Is that what you said? These
peonies.
are peonies.
Oh,
so he cut some of those, so they're blooming very well. They're
being
in my
shown
house.
A picture right now.
Yes,
they look like
peonies.
Roses almost.
Yes, they're very pretty. So I appreciate. I took his advice already. Didn't get everything done, but how to rehab my lawn. So I'm working on that project and made a nice little play area.
She's got
for
a thatch issue.
Yes.
Big thatch issue.
Yes, And
she has other issues too, but
I have plenty of issues.
It's mostly her thatch that I was looking at.
I can fix the
yard.
Let
me rephrase that.
The yard I can fix. The rest you're pretty much stuck with.
Sounded a little naughty for a minute there.
I was going to say
it deserves a Paul Leyland.
Does a Brazilian cure your thatch?
Let's go to Paul Lynn for the center square in the win.
No, I got
a Brazilian cure your thatch?
I got a cream for that, and we've been doing well. Thank you very much.
Touche, Paul. Touche.
So, and he also gave me some good advice. There's a little egress window place that my little boy likes to play in. He gave me some suggestions, put some wood chips and stuff down there. He was a big fan of that.
So little. Everybody's got to have a little fort.
Yes.
After the break, I want to find out all about Foodie Friday and Brian BT and his history and career. But before we go to break, and still in the prison mode, did you see John Oliver? Do you watch John Oliver?
Every week.
Yeah, he had a thing last night on the bail system.
Okay.
At its heart, America's bail system sounds pretty simple. If you're charged with a crime, the court might ask for an amount of money as bond and then return it to you once you show up for trial. And if you have that money, it's no big deal. But if you don't, you can be in big trouble. Just look at one example, a man called Miguel. He was arrested for driving with a suspended license. The court set bail at $1,000 and he had a choice, pay it or await a trial in Rikers Island. And I'll let Miguel and his wife take the story from there.
I wouldn't wish Rikers on my worst enemy because it's rough.
It was hard because I had to try to borrow money from this person and this person and this person to try to get him out. He told the judge, I can't afford $1,000 bail. So he really didn't have a choice but to plead guilty.
Now, whether he was guilty or not, the fact is a non-violent offender spent time in Rikers because he didn't have $1,000. And this is a systemic problem. Increasingly, bail has become a way to lock up the poor regardless of guilt, because Miguel was a family man who posed no danger to society whatsoever, and he was stuck in Rikers, whereas millionaire Robert Durst, who'd been accused of murder in Texas, had a completely different experience of the bail system.
I had been told by the detective that you've been charged with murder. Bail has been set at $250,000.
But was your intention when you put up the $250,000 to run away?
Oh, goodbye $250,000. Goodbye jail. I'm out.
I'm out! That, of course, is an excerpt from Robert Durst's children's books, Goodbye Jail. Goodbye money, goodbye bail. I killed them all, but goodbye jail. Of course. Of course.
I thought that was apropos, considering we had a prison break going on. Yeah. That he made comment last night on the bail system.
Oh, we should talk about the bail system and after the break with the bikers in Texas as well. So
yeah, and there's more video going on. Did you hear about this? The Texas pool party, these teenagers.
Oh, I saw that this morning. Yeah. That was ridiculous.
I wonder how far this video will go. Anyway, all right. So, are we at that point? I know we started a half hour late.
Yeah,
I think
so
we are
should
at that
take that
point.
break,
all right,
and then we'll come back with both of those stories.
Sounds good to me.
The Twin Cities Hit Show. We'll be right back.
Don't let your computer problems drive you mad. We are MacMen, Minnesota's premier tech consultants and problem solvers for Macs, mobile devices, troubleshooting, training, and much more. No more dragging your computer all over town because we come to you. We love making house calls to your home or small business. MacMen. Call 612-345-8005. The Alive and Social Network is alive and growing. From the best in sports, music, movies, and beer, Alive and Social is what all the cool kids click on. Featuring characters like radio rebel Jeff Dubay, Star Tribune pundit Jim Suhan, Unfiltered, and television veteran and handsome man Rusty Gatenby. You can also taste the Minnesota Pubcast with Jason and Molly. Join the band with live band karaoke night from legendary O'Gara's in St. Paul and the live music showcase from Shamrocks. Yes, Alive and Social Network does indeed rock and roll. The Jeff Dubay Show, Jim Suhan Unfiltered, the Rusty Gatenby Review, the Minnesota Pubcast with Jason and Molly, live band karaoke, and Shamrock's live music showcase. Join the fun. Be alive and social with the Alive and Social Network. Yeah, we got one more spot to run. I don't have to, but I'll run it.
The term foodie can sometimes come across as a tickle pretentious. BT and Lydia are here to demystify the term and reclaim it for the sake of good food. Their weekly podcast brings in fellow foodies and culture creators from the Twin Cities to talk about all things food. Find this duo only on the Alive and Social Network.
We need to make a commercial for my show.
That's my man Terry Daniel on that voiceover, wasn't it?
Hit Show, Say it 3 times fast. We just dare you.
Yeah, it was Terry Daniel, and you know our Ben Patrick Johnson, too.
I do. I've known Ben since he was 17 years old. I was doing radio back then at Cities 97, mid-'80s. And we hired Ben. He was 17 years old, and he was a part-time announcer there. That was his first job in radio, and then we've stayed in touch ever since. We're more Facebook pals now, but I mean we do stay in touch that way. Huge fan of Ben, remarkable talent, and I couldn't be more proud of the guy on so many levels. You know, on a man living an out life, as a gay man living an out life, living a happy life, and really advocating for the LBGT. Q community and advocating for allies as well across the community, and he's a wonderful writer. He's a novelist. I mean, like I said, I couldn't be more proud of my old
pal. But
his
meat and potatoes is the voice work.
Oh yeah,
and you've got that voice too.
I do some of that. Yeah, I'm trying to do more of it. Shannan knows what I've been working on this year because she's really a voice actor as well, and we're represented by the same agency, and so just working hard on doing more of that and doing more on camera work and just more of that talent-oriented and that performance-oriented work, and branching out into fun stuff like we're doing here with the podcast world, you know, with our shows and your show this morning and what have you. It's fun.
We have a good time. I mean, and it is interesting as the voice actor community. It's an interesting collection of people because it does. People think that I have a good voice. Yeah, but can you read? There's lots of people. Can you
develop a character?
Exactly.
You know?
Can you? You still do have to do some acting.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Is there enough work around? Does it keep you busy or?
Oh, there's I'd like to be busier. I mean,
right.
And you could be Ben Patrick Johnson and still say, "I wish I was busier."
Exactly.
But you just have to keep working at it. I mean, that's the thing. Like any gig, you keep auditioning and
you find your niche. And,
you find what you do
helps.
best. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you learn along the way. And some of the best advice I've heard from fellow voice actor Carr Hagerman. Mm-hmm. Listen to your client. I mean, they'll teach you everything you want to know. Listen to what they're coaching you to do and listen to them.
Right.
Carr is with the Renaissance Festival, right?
Oh yeah, he's fabulous. Yeah, he's been there 40 years. Yeah.
Wow. Well, from the Tony Award winning King and I, here's what I want to know from here's what we're gonna do with BT.
Getting to know all about.
Is this Deborah Carr singing? Or is this the more recent one?
This is the 2015 cast.
Because she sounds like Deborah Carr.
She won the Tony Award, this actress, and I forget her name, and whatever. It's Broadway.
I love that music, by the way.
So you grew up in Minnesota.
Robbinsdale. Yeah, Robbinsdale area.
And what was in high school? When did you realize that I wanted to do the radio thing?
Oh, before that, 12 years old. Yeah.
Why? What was it?
My dad was always a big fan of the radio, so I know that had a huge influence on me because when we'd go on fishing trips or just hanging out or just whenever we were driving, the window was cracked, Dad was smoking a cigarette, and the radio was on. Or, invariably, he'd come home after a day's work and he'd regale, us over dinner or what have you with a few stories about you never believe what Boone and Erickson said. It was so funny, going back. He was a CCO listener back in the day and really appreciated those guys and the storytelling narrative that comes from that style of radio. And we're doing the same thing here, which is really fun and refreshing. This is a storytelling narrative here in the podcast world. And so I think my dad's influence there really had a lot of bearing on me. But I also just enjoyed the ethereal, magical nature that is radio. First off, I mean, we're storytellers, I think, built into our genetic code as humans, as a species. I think we're storytellers, and those that are created and again, built into the genes to listen to stories and to learn from them and receive them, because we've been doing it for so long. I think after sign language, then verbal language was the next language, and then we didn't get to writing until, millennia upon millennia later. Really, we've only been writing things and interpreting that for about 8,000 years.
So from an anthropological standpoint, you're like, this makes sense that we do this.
Absolutely.
That must have been cool for you, though, to when you decide you're going to go into radio, to go, I know that my family's going to support me or at least kind of get what I have going on. Not like, whoa, is that a job? What are you doing there?
Oh, so, yeah. They were into it. And so I was really blessed with having some teachers I went to Robbinsdale High School, and Phyllis Cromer was one of my teacher coaches, and she was a declamation coach. And so that's, again, storytelling in front of audiences.
I was like, what's a declamation?
Yeah, and there are contests
I don't know
for
if I had
it,
that in Wayzata.
Well, there probably was. I don't know. But, there were contests for it, and you'd go and compete against others, and then judges would, listen to how well you interpret a story and characters and all of that stuff, if there were characters in the story. And then she also said, you know what, we think the principals and I think you should be the morning announcer.
Nice.
And so 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, they always knew when I was skipping to have to smoke a joint before class because I was either late or a little Cheech and Chong-ish perhaps, but yeah. So every morning I'd bring in for like a week I'd bring in another fellow student and they'd be like my guest co-host. And we would do it's just doing the announcements,
Nice. It is that
in the
crazy
lunchroom today, and then, the Aqua Robins are practicing at Robbinsdale Junior High School pool at 3:00.
And now today I'm so envious because the kids are able to do a full-on TV show.
Thing. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a
in
whole
our
media
day,
thing.
because I graduated 79.
I'm 77.
It was just radio.
Yeah.
And the guy who I did all the assemblies. I was the master of ceremonies guy. I did all the assemblies. But the guy who did the radio, the PA announcement, he was this. It's funny that he got to do it. He was a cynical, snarky Dave Letterman type guy, and he would rip through the announcements so that he'd have an extra 2 minutes
for his comedy,
for his bits, right? With a cowbell and a whistle.
He was doing Morning Zoo,
yeah.
And they don't even do announcements anymore. Nobody does announcements now.
And now time for the announcements to really matter. I'm going to set fire to my hair in the back parking lot. Nah!
Bugga, 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 bugga. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Moo.
And somehow he never got kicked out. I don't know if the teachers were like, "Oh, we'll let him go."
He's having at it. That's great. I love it.
So from school, then, how do you land a radio gig?
Well, the movie wasn't out yet, but you'll know the example. Robin Williams' character in Good Morning Vietnam. So I knew that there were broadcast professional fields in the military, and I didn't want to go to college right away out of high school. I wanted to adventure a little more than that, and so I decided to join the Air Force. And so I traveled. I did college while I was in the Air Force, and then I had my chosen professional field presented to me as my job choice. I actually had to audition for it, so it wasn't like a fait accompli. I did when I enlisted. I enlisted in this general category. I mean, there are very specific fields that you can enlist in. Aircraft mechanics,
right?
And and just very military oriented things in the Air Force. Whereby I might add, the grunts, so to speak, those of us, the airmen and the sergeants,
right.
They're doing all of the support work so that the officers can go out in billion-dollar aircraft, and then they do all the bad stuff.
Oh, geez.
It's
okay.
the
they're the
pyramid's
rock
different.
stars.
Right.
Yeah, the pyramid is different, obviously, in the Army or the Marines,
right.
where in the Navy and the Air Force are similar that way, but different in the Army and the Marines, whereby the high-ranking officers are, I'm not saying they're behind lines eating bonbons and drinking champagne, but
they are.
But they are. But they're behind lines, and then the grunts are actually out there doing all the stuff, So it's a different pyramid in the Air Force. So I knew that.
Yeah.
So I knew joining the Air Force, it would likely be more, it would be less shooting weapons, and it would be more like push-ups and lunch.
Yeah.
And so,
nice.
And so, but I enlisted in a general category with the notion that when I went to basic training, they would give me an audition there to see if I would make it into the broadcast and journalistic career path
and
that they have.
Probably seemed pretty. You're like, I'm probably going to get what I want, because a lot of people don't like talking in front of people. And if you're in the Air Force, because I went to the Air Force Academy for a year, you're very engineerly minded. Like, you want to be a pilot, you know what you want to do, you're very focused.
And I really felt, yes.
There's not a lot of English majors going to the Air Force, kind of thing.
Right. And I knew I'd get the gig. And so at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, I'm there for basic training, and about halfway through, you put your preferences down, especially in this general category thing, and they sent me off to a fellow who auditioned me, and they accepted me at the Defense Information School. Sure, he's in. And so I had a couple weeks to go with basic training, knowing that the path that I wanted to be on was the one that I would be going on. So that was pretty cool, because I could have been a meat cutter. I could have been a security patrol officer. There were a lot of things in the general category.
Never a pilot? You never wanted to?
Well, I always had poor vision as a kid. Always had poor vision as a kid. So I always loved flying, and I think that added to my narrative Air Force as opposed to the other services. But I knew that I would never be able to do that because of the vision thing. I had like 2400 vision in one eye and 24/25 in the other. I couldn't get up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom without finding my glasses first. You know, and I'd be stumbling around and hitting chairs and stuff. So it was.
Did you ever go? Take me up for a ride?
Oh, I've been in a lot of Air Force aircraft. Yeah, it's been a pretty cool ride that way. Yeah, pretty neat stuff. Because I was a journalist. I wrote. I was a written journalist in addition to a broadcast journalist, newspaper editor for a while too. So you write about these people that are doing cool things, not only just flying Air Force aircraft, but also the support staff and the people that are doing all the grunt work on the ground, making sure that these aircraft and the people that fly them are supported all across the board. That's what you write about.
So was it difficult for you to transition from something like that where you got to talk more long form, or you're writing long form, to, hey, I'm on a music station and now I talk in 2-minute chunks?
Yeah, well, that I think that's a little bit easier to transition to truncate yourself, as opposed to if you've only been trained in sort of the music formats. And as an announcer, as a broadcaster or DJ, but if that's the only training you've ever had, then when a microphone is there and you're expected to put thoughts together and do them in a linear storytelling fashion and have a beginning, middle, and end, and then make your way through that narrative, and then when that one's done, take a break or whatever and move on to the next narrative or guest. I think that there's some difficulty there for a lot of people in the industry, as opposed to the other way around. But there is difficulty there as well to take because you're used to having time to tell a story,
and now you have to condense
it.
Quickly.
You got to condense it into 30 seconds or 60 seconds. But it's just a skill set that you develop.
Well, when you're in the Air Force, I mean, are the shows all specific? Hey, welcome back to Jet Fighting Show. The latest helmet and gloves are out.
That's a really good question, because I've heard some of the broadcasters now that are in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and they are far more restricted. It's really about base announcements and this is kind of like the morning announcements in high school. It really is. Mm-hmm. Here's what's in the chow hall today. Here's So Cronauer was in Vietnam in 66 through 69, and the kind of narrative that he was able to put out there on obviously fictionalized to a great extent with Barry Levinson's movie, but I was in the service from 77 through 1984, and that sort of vibe, at least, that ability to turn on a microphone and tell stories, obviously that you're not dissing the colonel, or this or that, or you're not telling secrets or whatever, but that ability to just tell stories and then play music and do what you wanted to do in that way was far more an open environment, even in the military broadcasting that I did in that era. Now it's been, just like I said, very parsed down. There's still people doing it and having fun doing it. I mean, as opposed to carrying a weapon and having to go out on sorties and what have you,
but to
be able to go into an air-conditioned little room and do announcing and TV stuff and then write stories about it for the base newspaper or the e-newsletter or whatever they're doing now, obviously pretty good duty, compared to a lot of other things in the military. But yeah, a lot more open when I was in. That was fun. You can just go on and tell stories. Good stuff.
When did Cities 97 happen?
It was in 1984. Shannan and I have obviously some background at the station we're at now, 96.3. It used to be K-Twin.
Right.
Yeah. When I got out of active duty and transferred into the reserve, I came back to here, my hometown, and worked at the 934th Tactical Airlift Group. It was then. Now it's the Tactical Airlift Wing. You know it. It's that military base that's on the north side of the airport on Crosstown and 34th with the C-130 mission. So I worked there as a base newspaper editor and writer, and I did some broadcast stuff there as well. But I joined the reserve, and I was looking for a full-time radio job, and I was hired by a fellow named Jack Moore, who had on the air what was then 108, is now Cool 108, but it was K-Twin 108. And so when I came back to work, when I came to work at what is 96.3, Go 96.3 now, it was K-Twin. It was K-Twin. So it was this really weird full circle thing. All these years later, I'm saying K-Twin into a microphone on the air again.
Right.
And so, that was kind of weird. And I actually had to put sort of like a Sharpie set of Post-it notes in there so that I wouldn't say K-Twin. So I wouldn't say my old brand before that, which was Cities 97, but also I'd say 96.3 K-Twin instead of K-Twin 108 because K-Twin was so ingrained in my brain. Muscle memory, right?
Wow.
So I had to do that.
And before we're running out of time, but the Foodie Friday podcast now.
Yeah.
You're in the podcast world.
Yeah, it's fun.
So what? All this while, we mentioned that gardens are in your blood. You helped Shannan pull weeds. And food as well.
Oh, yeah, it's been for a while. My wife and I and our family, we had a gourmet food business that was going for about 6.5 years. It was called LT in the Kitchen, BT, LT, Lori Turner. And we made some really wonderful foods and pushed those out into retailers all across the area here. And then it had its time, you know, so we shuttered it last September.
This is my lusting after food music.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, I'm not a chef. I like to cook. I like to learn about cooking and, you know, remember things about cooking so that you can apply them to other things you may cook, like, I guess, like a chef does, you know, or like good cooks do. A technique that you learn with this one thing, you can do it with this other thing, so to speak, and just remembering that, and then trying something a little different and making mistakes, you know, because even the mistakes, generally speaking, if you're not too far off the mark, they're still going to be pretty edible.
And that's why I appreciate
might not be what it is.
Your brand of being a foodie is that it's not just being snooty just for the sake of being snooty. It's just encouraging people to try things and to cook and to do things like that. Because back to what you're saying about. From an anthropological standpoint, I remember I saw Michael Pollan, the author. He wrote a number of books, but The Omnivore's Dilemma, and he has a new book out, or new-ish now, called Cooked. And it's just really interesting the way he says that from a society, it's very important that we still cook, and how we're losing things because we don't get together as a group and actually still get that feel of getting together over a cook fire, and another opportunity to share stories and
that's where it all begins. That's where it all happens.
And so, you know, the fact that I cook, everybody in my family cooks. And people look at us like surprised that we cook. And everything's not amazing, but the fact that on a regular basis, you know, that at least 3 nights a week, if not 4, I'm cooking, that I make breakfast, that we don't eat out, you know, all the time. People just seemed amazed that you could do anything like that. So,
and that's the demystification that my daughter and my co-host Lydia, again, apologies for forgetting you were in the picture there, and one of the judges at Grand Old Day, Lydia, just completely spaced, and because it was you. But, you know, we're trying to demystify that. We're trying to bring that narrative forward, which is it doesn't take that much effort to actually make really good food, and that, I think, more than anything defines what foodie is, that you're just trying to you're always trying to find a better way to make better food, or an easier way to make better food, but that you're just enjoying food together and having a family moment or a friend's moment over food, because part 2, as you said so aptly, is that's where that storytelling narrative happens, is that you get a chance to just catch up on each other and find things to speak about that may be on the surface, but also could be potentially life-changing or just deeply emotional.
Right.
And that's important as well, that we do that kind of sharing. And that's what happens when you demystify, I think, the whole food or foodie thing. It's just a matter of moving that ball down the field in a way that's just genuine from the heart, and that you try things, and that you just try to make things happen because you're trying things.
And you've had some pretty diverse guests, including Andrew Zimmern.
That was a fun show. Yeah, it was wonderful.
International food celebrity.
Yeah, he's amazing, and you know he's AZ's an amazing chef too. I mean, it's even though he's Mr. Showtime out there doing what he's doing.
Mr. I eat weird things. But he's a really nice guy. My friend used to run his food truck.
Yeah,
and just had really great things to say about it.
Oh yeah, he's an amazingly talented man, a brilliant guy on a business level. In addition to everything he's doing with the food thing and the food business, but also he's always thinking socially as well. He and Dan Buettner on the show together, and those guys are always thinking about hunger issues and have done a lot of projects together with the Butterball Bash and other things. And so there's a social conscious that goes into, I think, the food world as well, the foodie world, and we're trying to move that idea forward too. And Andrew certainly is a great example of it. Yeah, great guy.
And his landing at his career seemed as unlikely, given his early days, as our winning jockey, because he was he was not headed in a career of television superstardom and even being a chef.
Well, it's what's wonderful about Andrew is the forthcoming nature that's in his personality, and he is extremely forthcoming about what brought him to the Twin Cities, which was Hazleton, and he's forthcoming about all the stories that precede that, where he was literally sleeping in alleyways, in New York City, outside, and would take, cleanser. I mean, this is sad when you think, but it's true. He would take cleanser and would put a perimeter of cleanser around him in the alleyway because rats didn't like the smell of cleanser. So it's like he set up a perimeter so that he could just sleep in the midst of the throes of his addictive, part of his life. And he came here and he found sobriety, and he speaks again loudly and proudly about it. And then all of the things that happened because he sought to be just a healthier person, and that continues to this day. Yeah.
Well, your show is called Foodie Friday, and that's just one of a couple. You also have a gardening show.
Yep.
Right.
Bobby Jensen, noted Care 11 Grow with Care gardener, and just one of the, I think, probably the biggest names in gardening, in the Twin Cities.
He's just
here.
big, period. Yeah. Wait, what?
I know. I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
That's so much pot and kettle there.
Yeah.
I mean, who am I to talk? Good Lord.
You touche'd yourself. Bobby's just the best. New Jersey guy, he's been living here for years and years, and he's just grown to be, so imbued in the hearts and souls of Twin Cityans, whether you garden or not. That's what's kind of cool about Bobby, is that you just learn things and you like to view it. If you're an amateur gardener, whether you garden at all, or if you really get into the craft of gardening. And he's a great personality and a great co-host. We call our show there the Lazy Gardeners, and the idea there is, there are smarter ways. We could have called it the Smarter Gardeners, but that just didn't seem right when it came to Bobby and I.
It's overreaching.
But the idea is, there are just ways so you only do something once, and then it's done, and so then you can have more cocktail time.
There, I like that idea.
There are lazy gardening techniques out there to just kind of make sure that you get more cocktail time. And then with a great designer named Bob Harvey, we do a landscape show here on the Alive and Social Network, and then Foodie Friday. And then Tom Smith and I are doing this Mortgages and BS show, which is relying heavily on the BS. But we always get into good things that you need to know about your financial future and what you can do in the present and what you can do in the tomorrow as it relates to your home, living in a home or the desire to live in a home, and the sort of game plans that you can put together, short term, long term, to achieve your financial goals when it comes to just the home thing.
He is a Renaissance man.
He sounds like he's busy.
Yeah, he can do everything. He can teach you how to get the house, and then once you get the house, he will help beautify the house. And once the house is beautiful, he will help you prepare meals so people will want to come to the house.
We're almost done with the show because I'm working on the stained glass project for the Vatican. And speaking of the Tonys, the new show that I'm producing at the St. James Theater, I have a conference call soon, so we're going to have to get going on. But no, it's Shannon, please. I'm not at all.
Do a little soft shoe for us, Mr. Turner.
It's called Pull My Weed, the musical. I don't think it's playing way off Broadway. I believe Kelly Cruz is part of that process. So the beauty of the podcast is, yes, it's called Foodie Friday, but there are episodes out there all the time at your leisure. Same with all the other episodes and podcasts. They're out there for you to find. If you missed last Friday's episode, guess what? It's waiting there for you. Same with the Twin Cities Hit Show. Same with the Geek.
Your Geek Show. That is my show that I do with my two friends, Jayton Satia and Rob Callahan.
And you just talked about what on Saturday?
This week we talked about Entourage, and we also talked the hot apps of the week. So we talked about we had our guest Geek of the Week, John Marino, who is the app hunter. So we talked about some dating apps this week, and also about this one really cool one called Bark Buddy. So if you're looking to potentially foster or rescue a dog, there's an app for that, it turns out.
Wow.
So, and this week we're actually, coming up this Saturday, we're going to talk to Lee Egbert, who owns Dashfire Bitters and also 11 Wells Distillery. So he is a whiskey geek, and he is also a big fan of Doctor Who. So
I know from him.
He's
a Doctor Who fan?
He's a Doctor Who fan. So we're going to talk Doctor Who companions and whiskey on Saturday.
Nice. So get drunk and listen to that one.
Exactly.
All right. Well,
put that in your TARDIS and drink it.
I love it.
I believe Chuck will be back. Sorry for the late start, but again, it's a podcast.
Yeah.
You can click.
You're never late with the podcast.
You're probably right now going, you weren't late. I'm listening at midnight. You were right on. You were right on time. All right. That's been Monday's version of the Twin Cities Hit Show. We got another fun week coming up. I think I've locked a pretty fun guest for the Thursday Deck Show. We had Kat Perkins on.
That was great,
last
by the way.
Thursday.
Heard that. That was great.
Okay, good. So, yeah, they're all there waiting for you, folks. Right now, it's a beautiful day. Let's get the hell out of here.
Thanks for the invite, Rusty.
Oh, yeah, anytime. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
You better find your feet. You better